Hi everyone, this is the Coffee with a Geek show. My name's Andy. I'm a tech integrator in New York State. With me today is a Twitter friend. I've never met you personally, but I have Stacey Roshan. Is that how you pronounce your last name? Okay. And Stacey is a math teacher in Washington, D.C. area at the Bullish School. And I think primarily high school math, but you're also the tech coordinator there. We go over some of your other. You're into the flipped classroom. You've attended the University of Virginia. I think we've rounded out my briefest of briefest introductions of you. And I just want to say, Stacey, I came across you on Twitter, and I think that's one of the great things about Twitter is, I mean, you and I meeting randomly would be, crazy, but Twitter brings like-minded educators and tech-savvy people from all over, and so really, I think that's the power that people are missing. Especially, I think a lot of educators I talk to, they're kind of afraid of Twitter. They think it's just some entertainment social network, but it's so powerful to meet new people. So, again, I came across your work. You have a blog called techmusings.wordpress.com. And so let's start kind of backing up just with Twitter. How does Twitter, first of all, thank you for being here, and thank you for interviewing with me. And tell me about your Twitter experiences, and what do you see with Twitter, and how does that impact your social network?
It's funny how you began, because actually when I first created my Twitter account, I was at a conference and they were talking about it, so I created it. And I just didn't think that I was going to be a really active user. I figured I'd be more of like the passive user, read what other people were saying, do the occasional retweet. I'm definitely a bit shy and private by default. And so, tweeting, I just felt like I would be really putting myself out there in such a public, visible way, and I didn't think I was going to be comfortable with that at first. But then when I began using Twitter and really saw the learning opportunities, the connections I could make, and just the power that my voice could have, it really changed my initial feelings about Twitter. And the same thing goes with my blog. Actually, when I started blogging, I thought it was going to be something mainly for myself, a place for me to reflect and take notes of ideas and things that I wanted to change in the future maybe, and really recap learning experiences from conferences that I had gone to. But then people started reading it and commenting and sharing, and I really saw a big power in that. And I think as educators, it's our responsibility to share. Sharing, reflecting, collaborating, remixing ideas that are out there are really how we grow. And of course, sharing benefits the larger community that's around us as educators. And so I think that has really opened up a lot of opportunities and learning for me. And I'm proud of, the chances that I get to inspire other people too.
Tell me about, again, I came across your Twitter feed, which led me to your blog, and which led me to just this expansive video library of really kind of, and I'm guessing it's flipped classroom type of learning from your background. Can you tell me how that started, and then maybe feed in that, and how did the videos affect your students and their learning, and maybe even your teaching?
Yeah, well, kind of like the Twitter and blog thing, I didn't really think at first when I made my videos that I would reach a large audience with my videos, and so that still blows me away, thinking that I've been able to reach students across the U.S. and even overseas sometimes. And I started by making AP Calculus videos back in 2010 for my AP Calculus AB course, and that really just covered all of the content required by the College Board. And basically what I did was I just took, for each lecture, traditional lecture that I would have done in the classroom, I put that on video, and then students would watch that at home. And since that time, I've done that with fully flipped, my other class that I currently teach, which is Honors Algebra 2. And the process of me creating those videos has definitely evolved, and technology has evolved. And I would say that probably one of the biggest game changers for me in creating videos is being able to embed quizzes within my videos. So now for each of the videos that my students watch, there's an embedded quiz in there, and I ask multiple choice questions and also free response types questions in there. And you know, the multiple choice questions have the benefit of being auto-graded for the student, so the student gets instant feedback on their understanding. It can cue them to replay a section if they need to replay it, or maybe it is an indicator that they're not understanding it as well as they thought they were understanding it. And then the free response questions, those really help me a lot because they allow me to, you know, dig a little bit deeper with the type of questions that I ask and give me a real glimpse of how well individual students are understanding it. So that really informs who I need to meet with one-on-one for the day, what group work that I have to do. And usually that free response question from the video is the basis for our discussion in class the next day.
How did you begin with videos? What programs do you use? Maybe you already answered the first part of that question, but what programs do you use? I guess where I'm going with this is for the math teacher out there that wants to dip their toes into doing kind of this flipped classroom or create some videos for their kids. What programs do you use? What programs would you recommend?
I personally use Camtasia Studio, and I don't think I could do what I do without it. It's not free software, but it allows me to do my screen recording, it allows me to edit the video, it allows me to also add in those embedded quizzes. I have a Surface Pro, and that's what I use to do my inking on, so I just create a PowerPoint, and then I ink on that PowerPoint. And so those are like the two main tools that I use. And then my school does have Haiku as our learning management system, so all of my videos that I create get embedded there, so it's well organized for the students to know what to watch.
As a former math student and someone who I've always loved math, but I've always found you know, my understanding, it took me a while. I really wish that video would have been around, you know, when I was in high school. So I think it would have really helped. Maybe, you know, I was always kind of fearful of asking, you know, help from the teacher, and so you'd go home and you'd have to get help from friends. Do you think that's a real benefit for your students by creating those videos to give them your voice, your basic presentation of how you did the math problem again for them? Do you think that puts them in a good comfort zone? And maybe have some data as well. Do you have any kind of data or even anecdotal observations of how it's impacted your students from maybe the traditional way you used to teach to now?
First of all, I think that it does allow them to kind of customize the pace as they're watching through that video. It allows them to pause when they need to pause, rewind when they need to do so, not just when somebody in the class is asking the question. And traditionally it's that, you know, loudest person in the class who's asking a lot of the questions, pausing the discussion a lot. So it allows them to pause at their own pace. And then in class, I just get a lot more individual time with the students. So when they have a question, I can answer it on a real individual, personal level versus right at the board when some kids aren't comfortable asking questions when you're at the board. And, you know, some kids ask too many questions when you're at the board. And so it just, you know, it does really, to me, it really customizes the learning experience, and that to me is probably the most important part of any of it. I think I've gotten to know my students on a very different level and target their needs much more individually. So that's the most important part to me. As far as, like, you know, data and stuff like that, I, you know, have given the same AP exam. They take the AP exam over the years, and students are doing really, really well with that. And there was a big increase when I started flipping my class, and they've just been doing very well. But I hate saying I have like this concrete data. I teach at an independent school. I'm lucky to have rather small class sizes. I teach one section of AP Calculus each year, maybe two. And so, but they're doing fantastic with it. And the more important part for me is I give my students a survey every year on how they're enjoying it. And their reactions have been overwhelmingly positive. I mean, I never would have expected so positive at the get-go. And it's funny because a lot of times the one thing that they tell me they love the most about it, which I never would have thought of, is they love knowing exactly how long their math homework is going to take them that night. Because they have this multiplier factor. Like, they know the video's 15 minutes. Maybe it'll take them 20 minutes to watch. Some of them will take a little longer. Some of them it'll take a little shorter. And so they tell me that because they know exactly how long it's going to take them, oftentimes they just do that homework first. And before, they were saving their math homework till last, because it was oftentimes, they would get stuck on a problem, and then sometimes they would feel like they would spend 10 minutes on one problem, and then the teacher would never recognize the fact that they had spent a whole 10 minutes on the problem. They might just say, you didn't get the answer, so you didn't try hard enough, So they've told me they work harder on their homework because of that. So that was an interesting one that I wouldn't have thought of without them telling me.
Yeah, that's one I hadn't heard before, but it makes a lot of sense. They can maybe gauge out their time a little bit based on the length of the video. Maybe put, bring in your tech coordinator hat into play here a little bit. Tell me about what future trends you see for education, or maybe if you could just magically change your school today to meet the needs of today's learner. What do you see are the trends? What do you think? What would you like to see, I guess? And I had mathematics education, but again, maybe put your tech coordinator hat on and tell me what you see in general.
I think you could go in like so many different directions with that question. But I'd say I hope that we just have more quality education that's accessible to all students, and also that it's much, much more personalized. And I think that technology can be one of our biggest friends in achieving that end. As I said before, I've just been overwhelmed by the number of students who have just stumbled across my videos online and use them regularly to supplement their own learning in the classroom. They're looking for that. And I think that, also you have these adaptive learning systems. I think that can be a real aid in personalizing the learning experience as that technology evolves. And so all these tools that we have at hand, I think, can really play in to inform the teacher to individualize the instruction that they do in the classroom. Sometimes I think that people say, oh, I'm afraid that with all this technology you're losing the personal touch. And to me, I use that technology to my advantage to free up my time to better get to know my students, kind of like I was talking about with the embedded quizzes and how I use that information before class. And, to me, one of the biggest things about being an educator, and one of the things I love the most, is just gaining this real relationship with my students and this trust with my students, and that takes time. And so I try my best to use technology to target the areas where students need the most help, and so I can have that time for that individual work. And over the years, I've really seen the tools evolve, and we have more and more at our fingertips. And so I guess if you ask me more about math education, what I wish I would see is just one of the biggest problems I see is students who come in with a weak foundation. And, it's like, well, no wonder they hate math, because they're constantly feeling frustrated. Math really builds on itself. And so, something I feel really strongly about is that if a student is really taught the why behind the concepts and given the time and the resources that they need to, let those concepts really click, then we would have a lot less students dreading math. Because to me, math is like this giant logic puzzle. It's not the speed test where you have to recall information. And too many kids are just trying to memorize math. And so that's probably one of my biggest goals in the classroom is, I tell my students, throw out what you've memorized and let's get to really delving into this and deeply understanding this. And I think the flipped classroom has given me a lot more opportunity to have those let's delve deeper moments. And so, yeah.
A lot of people, let me just ask it simply, what inspires your work? And I know a lot of teachers right off the bat will say students, so let's just put that one on the table, that our kids inspire us. I think that's why we got into teaching, right? But is there someone else that maybe inspired your passion for creating the flipped classroom, or just, doesn't even have to be an educator, but who inspires your work and who inspires you?
Am I allowed to say my mom? Because my mom
absolutely.
she's probably been one of my biggest inspirations. She's also a math teacher, and she gave me this deep appreciation for math from a really early age. And I definitely credit my love of math to her. She showed me just how beautiful math is, and so I have to thank her more than anybody. But also, I'm just incredibly inspired to continually create these video lessons because, I mean, one of the biggest things is beyond my classroom, just the wonderful comments I get from other students who stumble upon it and the emails that I get. I mean, they take the time to find my email, to email me, or to, put a comment on a YouTube video. And I had saved this clip that a student, hold on, let me pull it up, had just sent to me on one of my videos here. And they just wrote this. They wrote, "You are the best, no doubt about it. My whole class watches your videos. Tomorrow's my midterm exam, and you literally saved my life. I had trouble graphing logarithms, but now it's easy thanks to you. Every time I watch one of your videos, I always have to tell myself that I'm lucky to have found you. You have no idea how much you helped me this semester. If only you knew how much you helped me." And so it's like little things like that you're like, it just warms your heart so much, because you don't know who is finding your videos who might not have the resources to get outside help when they need help or something like that, and so creating the videos takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of effort, and it's a lot more time than I would have put in had I not had to make the videos. But just the audience that my voice is able to reach, it's just so exciting.
Well, and I think that illustrates, again, the great power of social media. It also illustrates, kind of tapping into one of your other points, is that, often people say, well, technology's, just ruining kids because they're just going to be in their rooms and not, interacting with the world. But yet your videos, I think, actually bring a fresher face to you as a teacher for your students that are in your class, so they can, they're basically, get to take their teacher home with them, to ask them math questions. And then the other, just larger picture of how you can reach out to kids across the world, really, to help them with math. And, we're teachers. One teacher may be able to express something one way, and you're able to maybe express it a new way, in a different way. And so we can help each other as teachers to give kind of different perspectives, different voices to different problems.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so now we've got the Speed Geek questions. So these are just short answer, just rattle them off as fast as you can. And I use the Decide Now app. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a great little thing. It just basically creates a little game board. I don't know if you can see it.
Okay.
So it creates a little game board, and I just spin it, and I have 3 questions. And so, again, just short answer off the cuff. Give it your best shot. So your first question is, there we go. Mac, PC, or Chromebook?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard because I love my Mac for everything. I have an iPhone and an Apple TV, but I need my Surface Pro to be able to ink.
Really? Okay. So, and I think that's probably the way of the world. I think we're probably going to have to become fluent in all of them, right? Okay, so here goes next question. Okay, first storage device.
Oh, jeez.
So for you, it might be, thumb drive. I don't know.
No, definitely. There was a floppy disk before that.
Okay. So the 5, what is it, the 3.5 maybe, or the 5? I can't remember.
I know.
Mine was the cassette, so I've got you beat. So on the age scale. All right, for the last one. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh, jeez.
Or you can say none of the above and pick your own.
Yeah, I don't know.
You'll leave that one blank? You want to try a different one? Here, I'll throw a different one at you. Favorite education blog. That's a good one.
Oh gosh, that's so hard too.
There's so many.
I love reading George Couros. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his last name.
Yeah, I think you're.
Yeah, that blog definitely inspires me a lot. So.
I know. That's probably the toughest question of all because there's just so many great ones out there. So,
Yeah.
let me just follow up one last question. What projects are you looking to do? Do you have some kind of a wish list of things you want to explore, different program, different things you're going to do?
Yeah, there's so much, but I'm trying to get students. One of the things I'm doing this year is I'm trying to get students to put more of their answers online, and so also to be able to write more math. And so I've been using this community online. It's called Socratic, and students are able to post answers to questions that other students have posted up there. And so that's kind of my way of showing my students kind of that appreciation that I've told you that other students have given me of putting answers up there, for them to be able to help other students, but also for them to really work on their verbal skills in math, because it's not something we do a ton of. And on top of that, I'm trying to get students to do some screencasting themselves, so that can contribute to their post answers. And I have a class set of Wacom tablets this year, so that's been a beautiful thing for me, because now my students have the ability to ink within the classroom. So I'm just trying to get all this technology to talk to one another a little bit better. That's probably my hardest thing right now, is sometimes I limit what I'm doing because I don't want to send my students out to too many different websites and overwhelm them. So.
Great.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Stacey. I appreciate it. And you had some voice issues earlier this week, so I'm glad you're better and on the mend. And thank you for your time. And you're really inspiring. You're doing great work, and keep up the good work. And I'll be following your posts.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Have a great day. Happy New Year.
Same to you. Thank you.